Why intelligent people fall for manipulation, the smart person's trap. You would think that intelligent people would be the hardest to manipulate. After all, they can spot logical fallacies, they understand cognitive biases, they've read the books on influence and persuasion. They should be immune, right? Wrong. Intelligence doesn't protect you from manipulation. In fact, in many cases it makes you more vulnerable. This is the smart person's trap, and today we're going to explore why the very qualities that make you intelligent can be weaponized against you. Let me start with a story that might feel uncomfortably familiar. Picture a brilliant software engineer named Sarah. She has a PhD from MIT, she's published research papers, she can debug complex systems in her sleep. She considers herself a rational thinker, someone who makes decisions based on logic and evidence. Then she meets Marcus at a professional conference. He's charming, well-read, and seems to share her intellectual interests. Within weeks, she's lending him money. Within months, she's defending his increasingly erratic behavior to her friends. Within a year, she's isolated, anxious, and can't understand how she got here. Her friends ask the obvious question, how could someone so smart fall for this? But that's the wrong question. The right question is, how did being smart make her more vulnerable? Let's explore the psychological mechanisms at work. The first trap is intellectual pride. Intelligence creates a blind spot. When you're used to being the smartest person in the room, you develop confidence in your judgment. This confidence is earned in many domains, but it creates a dangerous assumption. If I'm smart about mathematics, I must be smart about people. If I can solve complex problems, I can see through manipulation. But emotional manipulation doesn't operate on the same playing field as intellectual problems. It targets different neural systems entirely. The manipulator isn't trying to win a logical argument. They're triggering emotional responses that bypass your rational mind completely. Research in social psychology by Emily Pronin at Princeton has demonstrated something called bias blind spot. Essentially, smart people are very good at identifying cognitive biases in others, but terrible at seeing them in themselves. The more intelligent you are, the more sophisticated your rationalizations become. You can construct elaborate logical frameworks to justify decisions that are actually driven by emotional manipulation. This is the second trap, rationalization. Your intelligence becomes a tool for the manipulator. They don't need to convince your emotions if they can trick your intellect into convincing your emotions for them. Here's how it works. A manipulator makes you feel something. Let's say they create anxiety by being intermittently distant and warm. Your emotions are activated. You feel uneasy. But you're too smart to be controlled by mere feelings, right? So your brilliant mind gets to work constructing a logical explanation for your emotional state. He's distant because he's been hurt before and has attachment issues. I need to be patient and prove I'm trustworthy. Notice what happened there. The manipulator created the anxiety, but your own intelligence provided the explanation that keeps you hooked. You've essentially manipulated yourself on their behalf. Psychologists call this cognitive elaboration. The more intelligent you are, the more elaborate and convincing your self-deception becomes. You build an entire belief system to explain away red flags because your mind craves coherence and hates admitting it was wrong. The third trap is complexity bias. Intelligent people are drawn to complexity. Simple explanations feel unsatisfying. If someone says he's just a narcissist using standard manipulation tactics, your intelligent mind rebels. That's too simple. Too reductive. Surely the situation is more nuanced than that. So you dig deeper. You research attachment theory, childhood trauma, personality disorders. You develop a sophisticated psychological model of the manipulator. You can explain every behavior, every contradiction. Your model is brilliant, detailed, and completely serves the manipulator's interests. Because while you're busy understanding them, you're not protecting yourself. The manipulator doesn't need to be intelligent. They just need to be willing to do things you would never do. They need to lack the empathy and ethical constraints that govern your behavior. And your inability to truly comprehend that mindset becomes your vulnerability. Researcher Martha Stout, who studied sociopathy for decades, noted that the most common response she heard from victims was, "But I never would have done something like that, so I couldn't imagine they would either." This is the empathy gap. Your intelligence lets you model other minds, but you model them as fundamentally similar to yours. You assume that deep down, everyone wants connection, honesty, mutual benefit. The manipulator has no such limitations. They're playing a different game entirely, and you don't even realize you're on different playing fields. The fourth trap is information addiction. Intelligent people trust information. Give them more data, and they'll make better decisions, right? Manipulators exploit this by providing endless information, much of it contradictory. They'll tell you elaborate stories about their past. They'll share vulnerable moments. They'll introduce you to friends who vouch for them. They'll show you evidence of their success, their struggles, their complexity. Your intelligent mind absorbs all this information and tries to construct a coherent picture. But here's the trick. The manipulator is controlling what information you receive. It's like trying to solve a puzzle when someone else keeps adding pieces from different puzzles. Your intelligence makes you confident that if you just gather enough data, you'll figure it out. So you keep gathering, keep analyzing, keep trying to understand, while the manipulator keeps you perpetually off balance. Information becomes noise. Your intelligence, which should be an asset, becomes a liability because you can't accept that the solution might be simple. This person is lying, and no amount of analysis will reveal truth from deliberately constructed fiction. The fifth trap is the sunk cost fallacy on steroids. Everyone falls for sunk costs, but intelligent people fall harder. Why? Because admitting you were manipulated means admitting your intelligence failed you. And that's a direct threat to your identity. If you're someone whose self-worth is built on being smart, being perceptive, being able to figure things out, then admitting you were fooled is admitting your core value is compromised. The psychological pain of that admission is enormous. So instead, you invest more. You stay longer. You forgive more. You construct more elaborate explanations. Because walking away would mean facing the fact that all your intelligence couldn't protect you from a con artist who barely finished high school. Your ego becomes the manipulator's greatest ally. Research by Elliot Aronson on cognitive dissonance shows that people who see themselves as intelligent and rational experience even greater psychological discomfort when their behavior contradicts their self-image. To resolve this discomfort, they often change their beliefs rather than their behavior. I'm too smart to be in an abusive relationship, therefore this isn't really abuse. I'm too perceptive to be scammed, therefore this must be a legitimate investment opportunity. The dissonance between your self-image and reality doesn't make you leave. It makes you dig in deeper. The sixth trap is isolation through intellectualization. When friends and family express concern, what do? You explain. And because you're intelligent, your explanations are convincing, at least to yourself. You can articulate why their concerns are oversimplified. You can point out their lack of complete information. You can note their own biases and limitations. Your intelligence lets you win every argument about why you should stay, and each victory in these arguments reinforces your commitment to a situation that's destroying you. Meanwhile, the manipulator encourages this. They tell you that others don't understand, that your connection is too complex for simple minds to grasp. They flatter your intelligence while isolating you from people who might actually see the situation clearly. The seventh trap is pattern recognition gone wrong. Intelligent people are excellent at recognizing patterns. But manipulators exploit this by creating false patterns. They'll be amazing for 2 weeks, terrible for 2 days, amazing for 2 weeks, terrible for 2 days. Your pattern recognition kicks in. You think you've figured out the cycle. You predict the good periods and brace for the bad ones. You feel like you're mastering the situation. But the pattern itself is the manipulation. It's operant conditioning with a variable reward schedule, the same mechanism that makes slot machines addictive. The pattern gives you just enough hope to stay, just enough perceived control to think you can handle it. Your intelligence makes you confident you've cracked the code, when really you've just become addicted to the cycle. Now, let's talk about a particularly insidious aspect of this trap. Intelligent people often have complicated relationships with their own emotions. If you've succeeded by being rational, logical, and analytical, you may have learned to distrust or dismiss your emotional responses. You see emotions as weaknesses or as noise that obscures clear thinking. This is a disaster when dealing with manipulators because your emotions are actually your early warning system. That gut feeling that something's wrong? That's not irrational noise. That's your unconscious mind processing thousands of micro-expressions, inconsistencies, and subtle cues that your conscious mind hasn't fully analyzed yet. But intelligent people often override these signals. That's just anxiety. I'm being paranoid. I need to think about this rationally, not emotionally. The manipulator loves this. They know they can't fool your emotions, but they can fool your intellect. And they know you'll trust your intellect over your emotions every time. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio's research on decision-making shows that people with damage to emotional processing centers of the brain become terrible at making real-world decisions, even while maintaining their logical reasoning abilities. Emotions aren't the enemy of good decisions. They're essential to them. But try telling that to someone who's built their identity on being the rational one. So what's the solution? How do intelligent people protect themselves? First, recognize that intelligence is domain-specific. Being brilliant at your profession doesn't make you brilliant at detecting manipulation. That requires different skills, ones that might not come naturally to you. Second, trust your emotions even when you can't logically justify them. If something feels wrong, that's data. Don't dismiss it just because you can't immediately articulate why. Third, seek outside perspectives and actually listen to them. When multiple people who care about you express the same concern, your job isn't to explain why they're wrong. Your job is to seriously consider that your internal model might be compromised. Fourth, watch behavior over time, not explanations in the moment. Manipulators are excellent at explaining away single incidents. Patterns of behavior over months and years don't lie. Fifth, recognize that some people operate from completely different value systems than yours. Not everyone wants mutual understanding and authentic connection. Some people view relationships as zero-sum games where they win by making you lose. Sixth, be willing to be wrong. Your intelligence doesn't require you to be right about everything. In fact, truly intelligent people know that changing your mind when presented with new evidence is a strength, not a weakness. And finally, understand that being manipulated doesn't mean you're stupid. It means you encountered someone willing to do things you would never do. That's not a failure of intelligence. That's a success of character. The manipulator's greatest weapon against intelligent people is the fear of appearing foolish. Don't let that fear keep you trapped in situations that harm you. Remember Sarah from the beginning of our story. Eventually, she left. Not because she suddenly got smarter. She was always smart. She left because she finally accepted that her intelligence had limitations, that some situations can't be thought your way out of, and that admitting you were manipulated is actually an act of courage, not an admission of stupidity. The smartest thing you can do is recognize that being smart doesn't make you invulnerable. In fact, acknowledging your vulnerabilities is the first step toward actually protecting yourself. Intelligence is a tool. Like any tool, it can be used effectively or ineffectively. The key is matching the right tool to the right job. Don't bring a calculator to a knife fight. And manipulation? That's always a knife fight. The smart person's trap isn't that intelligent people are weak. It's that they trust their greatest strength in situations where different strengths are required. Wisdom isn't knowing everything. It's knowing what you don't know and protecting yourself accordingly. So the next time you hear about someone intelligent falling for manipulation, don't ask how could someone so smart be so stupid. Ask instead what made them believe their intelligence would protect them. And then ask yourself, where am I making the same mistake? Because we all have blind spots. The question isn't whether you have them. The question is whether you're willing to look for them before someone else exploits them. That's the real intelligence. Not being right all the time, but being humble enough to